All right, are you guys ready to jump into our next set of stuff?
I'm hungry.
No, but we're gonna do it anyway.
We're gonna do it anyway. Let's go. Welcome.
It's flying right at me.
It's coming right for you. All right. So this is just sort of military updates for just different countries around the world. North Korea has deployed a mystery balloon.
I think I know the solution to the mystery.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think it's so that there doesn't look like there's a sinking or sunken ship right off their coast. I think that's it. I think that's the entire mystery.
The entire
Kim Jong-un
mystery.
is just like, wait, our ship sank. Okay, what if we just cover it with a bunch of plastic?
What if it didn't? What if it
What if
didn't?
we just hide it? Yeah.
You'll
What
never.
If we hide it and then we say nope.
They'll never know.
Green screen it. Is that what it is?
New satellite
you
images.
Remember.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was gonna say, you remember, this is the country that built an entire pyramid hotel in its capital city that dominates the skyline and doesn't want anyone to talk about it because they never finished the interior and it's all just a facade. And that's just been the case for decades. No one has ever stayed at this hotel. And they're just like, shh, don't worry about it.
It's fine. It's fine.
But the face is important than the substance behind it. To
Right,
some
but that's
people.
what I'm saying. I think that North Korea might have just said, "Ah, man, a sunken ship. Well, that doesn't look good. But if we put a tarp over it."
I like that
that
CNN went out of its way to say it's a mystery balloon-like object.
It's clearly.
I
just
feel
a giant
sorry
tarp.
for the families of the people that were involved in the ship because undoubtedly the fat dude has been murdering both the people involved and their families' relations. It's a
Or just
he's unhappy.
Yeah. New satellite images show that North Korea has deployed what appear to be balloons alongside its damaged 5,000-ton warship that has been lying on its side and partially submerged since a botched launch last week. While the purpose of the objects is unclear, experts told CNN they could be used to help get the ship back upright or protect it from prying eyes of drones. The stricken destroyer was the country's newest warship and was meant to be a triumph of North Korea's ambitious naval modernization effort. Instead, a malfunction in the launch mechanism on May 21st caused the stern to slide prematurely into the water, crushing parts of the hull and leaving the bow...
Prematurely into water? Prematurely?
Prematurely into water.
What does that mean? That's like the front fell off? But
yeah, I guess.
So it went underneath?
I mean, it means that they weren't ready to actually... launch the boat.
Yeah.
And so rather than making all the preparations to make sure that it would launch properly, it would right itself, that it was actually watertight, it just kind of slid into the water. It turns out, launching a boat or a ship is actually a highly technical and tricky and dangerous thing to do, and you can't just half-ass it.
You don't say.
We're talking to somebody who's been in the Navy, so.
North Korean leader, Fat Man, who witnessed the failed launch in the northeastern city, called it a criminal act and ordered the country to swiftly repair the as-yet unnamed ship.
That's not going to happen.
Before the late June plenary session of the ruling Workers' Party, calling it a matter of national honor. I just have one question about all this, and I needed to show this picture. Because why is Fat Man dressed up like he's cosplaying John Goodman's bad guy from fucking Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
I want to point out that the alleged fat dude up there weight is 140 kilograms, which if you are metrically challenged, call that 22 stone.
Why isn't diabetic or something like that yet?
EU sanctions Syria militias accused of attacks on Alawites. I don't know if that's the correct Alawites.
So these are a religious minority group that's pretty common, especially in Syria, and they have been lately declaring themselves to be Muslims, although that is something that they had not been doing previously. And it's also the religious identity of the al-Assad family that was the dictators in Syria. And so,
May he rest
while
in bad places.
Right. So while it's definitely a good thing that the Assad family is out of power in Syria, it turns out that the new regime has been targeting just random Alawites for harassment, death, displacement. So, yeah, it's not great to be them. And to be fair, they were given unearned privileges in the previous regime. I just don't think that the appropriate response to that now is to go around doing horrible things to them.
Yeah, European Union lifted a wide range of sanctions on Syria on Wednesday, but slapped new ones on people and groups. It says participated attacks on civilians during a wave of violence in the Syrian coastal region in March. The move lifted most sanctions that had been imposed on the country, including its financial system, while keeping them in place on individuals and organizations in Syria. It says violated human rights for security grounds, like the extended family of the former President Assad, or its chemical weapons program, according to the text of the European Council's decision.
So here's the thing that Dapper's previous comment about letting bad leaders lie. Now that Assad is no longer leader of Syria, he can personally be held accountable for his war crimes.
I don't think he will be.
Because the taxi cab driver in Moscow is protecting him.
It's all coming back to Russia. Also. Sorry, go ahead. On. You wanted to, go ahead.
I'm just saying, for far right who and Fox News who talk about a lot of conspiracy theories and stuff all the time, it never occurs to them that Russia might have poisoned their well with all their online internet fog groups and to the extent which now they don't know what is reality and what is
Maanyaa.
fiction. And that is not acceptable. Putin is a great guy, though.
And that's the thing is why the Gentlemen of Putin organization called the GOP and their populist MAGA folks are Russian sycophants and Russian stooges, in my opinion. I think eventually they will be held accountable and be embarrassed and pretend like they were never Russian. But and it's not just U.S. because Canada had Pee-Pee, who was a Russian duped stooge, try to become leader of Canada.
Yeah, it's all over the world. Speaking of Canada,
this is bothering me. Wait, no, that was bothering me. Hold on, go back a second. The Arabic doesn't say Latakia; it says Latakia, and I hate it, and I want it to go away.
Yeah, but you know what? The other thing I was always Dapper. I was noticing that site is in remarkable condition, given what's happened in the area. It's
probably relatively new, but I hate that the Arabic and the Latin don't match up.
You say you hate it and you want it to go away, and you won't let me move on.
No. I don't want this picture to go away. I want the sign itself in real life
obliterated.
Go fuck off.
Obliterated.
Yeah, and it's a thing. But I think that highway has other problems. Like militia people
but there's only one that I can easily fix, and it's that sign. That's the one I can fix if they just let me. Take that
let
T.
Dapper fix that sign. We'll start a GoFundMe.
Yeah, take the T from Latakia, put an H after it, and then instead of the K, put a Q. Fixed.
2,000 years later.
All right. Can I move on now?
Were we distracted?
I need you to do it in Arabic.
I will end your life.
Or Klingon, yeah. You could do it in Klingon.
I'll kill you. All right. Carney says Canada is looking to join major European military buildup by July 1st. July 1st is Canada Day, and Carney has a handful of things that he wants done, or at least moving into for July 1st. One of them is all the barriers between the provinces being down. This is another one. So what he says specifically is Prime Minister Mark Carney signaled he hopes Canada will be able to sign onto a major European defense rearmament plan by July 1st, a step towards reducing the country's dependency on the United States for weapons and munition. He remarks on CBC's Power and Politics, which is a 1 hour or so long interview that they did with Carney, following the speech from the throne, which committed his government to joining Rearm Europe. So, I mean, this doesn't surprise me.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is Carney not talking about joining the Trump's Golden Shower Dome?
We're actually going to get to that, because that's another one. Do you want me to bump that one up? Let's bump that one up.
She missed the Golden Shower Dome.
I did not. I'm just used to that's what it's called here.
I do want to say one thing, which is that I support the idea of the countries that are not the U.S. that have in the past had military alliances just cutting the U.S. out of military operations, because quite frankly, the U.S. is not a trustworthy country in terms of things like military alliances, continuing to pay obligations for joint military actions. I think it might be time for, say, most of the countries to join an alternate UN that doesn't have permanent Security Council members, and then say, fuck off, US, if you want to have special veto power over literally everything.
And did anyone explain to the gentleman in Putin party and MAGA and Agent Orange that there's something called NORAD? Why is he trying to build something called the Golden Shower Dome? Unless he's...
Well, because NORAD doesn't have gold in it. And have you seen his apartment in New York?
Have you seen the Oval Office?
I mean, the Oval Office doesn't have that much gold, does it?
Yeah, it does now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Trump alleged that he basically spray painted the eagle at the top of the Oval Office with 24-karat gold. Because,
that is not a thing you can do.
Spending cuts. Cuts to the government misuse of money. I don't know. blah, blah, blah.
I will say one of my favorite things is an attempt to cut waste and fraud to save trillions of dollars off the budget, while then trying to get a spending bill that would add a whole bunch more to the deficit that apparently you were trying to save. And
it's because MAGA and the gentleman Putin organization are economic vandals.
It's almost
the
like
next
they're
time
liars.
You say the Republicans are best on the economy, remember the economic vandalism that is consistent with people that suffer from libertarian malaise.
It is a historical fact that the only time that Republicans actually vote to reduce government deficits is when there is a Democratic president in office. And they're in the minority in both houses of the legislature.
Yeah.
Only when they have control of nothing do they vote to reduce government spending. So if you want someone to reduce government spending, you should stop voting for the GOP, because they will only ever try when they can't.
So there's a couple of things about that I just want to point out before we move on from Carney, and it's that this is a little bit more of a big deal than people might realize because of the economic ramifications. Donald Trump has ostensibly, for all intents and purposes, kneecapped the military-industrial complex. And
the military-industrial complex took an arrow to the knee.
Yeah, absolutely took at least an arrow to the knee, if not a ballista. And so because of that, it means that the world still needs to be armed and is prepping even further to be armed, harder, better, faster, stronger, because of the way that Donald Trump has positioned with Russia, as well as, whatever's going on with China right now. So the rest of the world basically is responding by not only just moving away from America military projects, but also their contracts in general. Like, so even if it's built somewhere else, nobody wants to buy it because nobody trusts America. And so because nobody is trusting America right now, it means that there's going to be a massive, massive, massive boom of military contracts and construction and manufacturing that is likely going to happen in Canada. And the reason I say it's likely going to happen in Canada is that's the main reason it seems that Carney is wanting to join, not because we need to arm ourselves, which we do. That's not to say we're not going to. That's more to say that that's likely the direction he's going to be leaning in. And there's a couple of reasons. One is also because Donald Trump has also kneecapped the automotive industry. And by kneecapping the automotive industry, it means there's going to be a lot of skilled manufacturing workers and machinery and infrastructure that is going to be sitting there with nothing to do, so it's going to get reworked, reappropriated into doing military work. On top of that, Canada has the resources because we have, like, in-house. And so because Canada has, like, the minerals, the steel, the aluminum, the material that goes into these products, it's going to allow Europe to rearm faster because Canadians are not only notoriously fast, we are also notoriously good at this, as well as this is disregarding whoever is doing military contracts in America deciding to flee America, like the engineers, like the scientists who are like, get me the fuck out, bro! And Canada's sitting literally right the fuck there.
Sure.
There is
There's
one other factor, and it is that I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you can disagree with me, I think that Trump is scared, like piss himself scared of war with Canada. For a couple of reasons. One, I think he's willing to bloviate about anybody. But, so he'll bloviate about Greenland, he'll bloviate about whatever with Russia, because that's far away. Mr. Bone Spurs isn't gonna want to go to war on his own land right next door, let alone with anybody, let alone with Canada. He barely wants to do it with Mexico. He's been teasing that. He's been playing with that a little bit, but that's because he thinks Mexico is weak. He is piss scared of Canada. We have a fucking history. We are notorious. And by the time he manages to stabilize his regime, if he is able to do that at all, we're talking about that won't be by the end till like the end of his term. We're talking about minimum of 4 years. By then, if Carney's talking about joining and being set up in June, we're gonna be 3 years in to rearmament and shipping shit out by the time he's even ready to even try moving that kind of direction.
America, you
hope
done
that
fucked.
you're right. I think Trump is too stupid to be scared of Canada.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Well said. No, I agree with Dapper.
I don't think so, because I think if he was too stupid to be scared of Canada, he'd be threatening annexation with actual troops. He'd be like, we have military.
But the thing is, there are people he still listens to, and I think the people he still listens to are saying, it's probably best that we not currently invade Canada, because, and then they'll give him some excuse, and it doesn't even have to matter if it's true or not, but as long as it flatters his ego more than he thinks his ego will be flattered by actually launching an invasion of Canada, then he won't do it. And and maybe I'm wrong. Look, I could be wrong. I am not saying that this is a fact that I know.
Yeah.
I am saying my assessment is that this man is fundamentally too stupid to be scared of something like that. However, he still has people whispering in his ears who have goals that would be undermined by invading Canada.
Yeah.
Like, you think
I think
Project
that's
2025
also
is going to go faster if they invade
I think
Canada?
it's just too narcissistic to care.
I see. I also like.
Care.
I don't know. I agree that I think that's also a factor, but I also have noticed that the FBI director of America has started to try to position Canada put Canada in the position that Mexico has been in. About there's drug cartels. There's all this stuff coming over the border. And it's stupid.
They're smuggling Kinder eggs over the border.
Yeah, you better look out. Your kids are gonna choke on them. Think of the children.
To Chesh's point as well, both Sweden and France have been actively engaged in discussions with the Canadian government about exactly what she's talking about, both the Canadian manufacturing and skill base, as well as Canadian even purchasing non-U.S. Defense matters for Canada.
I hope you guys know that every year 3 billion Canadian children choke to death on Kinder Surprise toys. 3 billion.
That's a lot. That's a lot of children. So, speaking of the Golden Dome,
many children?
I have a couple of questions about the Golden Dome. It doesn't seem.
Aren't you chugging yours?
It's empty. I drank it all. I did it all in the first go. I destroyed it.
I have 250 ml. I have 250 ml. I can't. This is not
Out of this, Landon.
This was.
Out of this, Landon.
This is only 20. This is only 20 milliliters.
So basically, it's a shot.
Yeah, it's a shot.
All right, I'll stop.
So,
actually, I think a shot is 15 mils, isn't it?
Probably. Maybe it's a double. We'll call it a double. Trump's
Well, that
Golden.
would be 30 mils.
Yeah, but
7
we're just gonna
hours
call it
later.
Trump's
Shot in a third.
We have so much to get through. Trump's Golden Dome plan has a major obstacle: physics. So, besides the fact that Trump needs approval from... Right? Besides that, Trump needs approval from Ottawa, from Canada, to be able to even make his dome operable, which, by the way, used to be called the Iron Dome, but he changed it to gold because I love gold! Fucking freak. There's a couple of
I think he also might have done it to differentiate it from a similarly named project in Israel called the Iron Dome.
Oh, now who's overestimating Trump's intelligence?
I don't think he named it. I think someone else was like, hey,
call it gold.
What if we call it
gold.
this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he came up with this name. I barely think he's making any decisions at all.
So apparently the system's capabilities...
Trump would call it the Trump Dome.
The system's capabilities are likely to remain relatively limited within the next 15 years, the report argues. And the
Longer
Dome
than
Initiative...
he'll hopefully be alive.
Right. The Golden Dome Initiative aims to protect the country from more capable adversaries such as Russia and China, which is a far more difficult task.
Russia?
Yeah, Russia and China. So here's the thing, right? As much as Trump is quote-unquote playing nice with Putin or yelling at Putin or tweeting about Putin or whatever the fuck he's doing, the military is still operating as the military, as it's I don't want to call it independent, but it's still doing whatever initiatives. That's why you still see America, the United States, listed when we went over those 4 countries from before, United States that allowed Ukraine to fire deep, right? So the military is still doing
I can almost guarantee you Trump had nothing to do with.
Absolutely.
And for the record, I have worked with Frank Lamb of Urbana-Champaign.
Do we think that this Golden Dome, even if it was put up in 15 years, would be effective against missile development at a rate that is 15 years advanced from what they are now?
Besides China or some wacko group can simply put a device onto like a tuna trawler, sail it into Chesapeake Bay and go bang. And Trump's little Golden Dome ain't going to do crap about it. So there's reasons why you want to have a Navy to watch for people doing crap like that.
Mm-hmm. I'll say, I don't think I have the ability to prognosticate missile technology in 15 years. So I think I am skeptical of the ability of this kind of program to be able to reliably intercept ICBMs in 15 years' time, as they are in 15 years. But also, if you had told me 15 years ago that I might be living through the rise of fascism in the United States, I'd say that was crazy. So what the fuck do I know?
Yeah, fair enough. One of the critics...
My thing is...
a lot, actually, Dapper, you do.
Well,
just watch Dapper's channel, and you'll see how much Dapper knows.
Go ahead, Maanyaa.
But he's not a linguist.
Shut up! Go ahead, Maanyaa.
He's not a linguist, though.
Can I speak now? Can I speak? Okay, all right. So what I'm just thinking is this whole dome thing is like so stupid. The thing is that, Dapper, you know a lot. You know that physically it's not possible. What material are they going to use, and till what height it's gonna go up, right? Till it starts intruding on airspace. Okay, once the dome is built, what about the international flights? What the fuck?
Well,
people are going
to... Hold on. The goal of this isn't to construct a physical dome. That's not the idea.
So
it's an air-to-air missile defense system.
I'm not,
aren't they trying to recreate the windows of heaven? There's the windows of heaven that they're going to put up there.
Did you actually think they were going to get gold and build a physical dome around the United States?
Over North America?
Gold.
So that if they don't open up, we won't have a North American flood? Is that...
Even... Okay, all right. Okay, I got it wrong. I thought it was a physical dome. My bad.
You know, a physical dome would actually probably be more practical.
Yeah, a physical dome would work better.
Even with
in terms of reliably intercepting missiles, sure.
All I can think of is, have you guys ever seen the movie? Have you guys ever seen the Disney's Atlantis? When like all the robots go out and clap their hands, and then they make a force field dome around Atlantis.
That would be very effective.
Bye.
Hi, Maanya's hat.
Critics,
you know what? Maybe this is a big misconception. So the idea behind the Golden Dome is that the United States military will track incoming ballistic missiles and then launch their own missiles to intercept them in the air, thereby detonating them at a safe distance from the actual surface of basically North America, because there's really no way to protect the United States without also defending most of Mexico and more or less all of Canada. So that's
but they also, by the way, Dapper, the other thing their proposed use is to blow nukes and use X-ray lasers to go and destroy the incoming devices as well. That's another part of the dome.
Yeah, but the idea is not a physical shield to protect against incoming missiles. It is to intercept missiles.
It will protect most of them, but not low-lying ones, and certainly not things that are brought in on the sea, which is why you want to fund a navy.
So,
first, I want to say I don't support the Golden Dome, but I will say pointing out that it wouldn't be effective against all possible attacks is not a good reason to not implement a defense system.
Sure. But I will say, critics note that the system has been about 60% effective in tests. However, that statistics include tests going back over 25 years. The tests performed in more recent years have been more successful. Quote, anytime you test a new system, there's going to be failures early on. That's how you learn what works. However, there's a complaint that the tests aren't realistic, but the proponents say that it's not possible to fully recreate realistic conditions. So, they're having a hard time justifying. But not
fair because the people trying to get funding for the military contracts produce tests that show they should be funded more.
Well, if you want to talk about part of why it's going to be a problem, or why it's going to be like funding wise. Let's do two things, because it's going to be incredibly expensive. First off is if the interceptors are in low Earth orbit, right, the altitude of 2,000 kilometers or less could do it, but those interceptors would be orbiting rather than parked over the countries of interest, right? So to be certain of taking down a missile, a large constellations of satellites would be needed, and to protect the United States from Slavos of multiple missiles at once, the number of satellites would have to increase further.
No, but Chesh, in Star Trek, when they park in orbit, they stick over a spot, so we just have Star Trek orbits.
With the infinite energy machine.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Ensuring protection from just one North Korean ICBM would require more than 1,000 interceptors in orbit. The APS report finds that protection from 10 might demand over 30,000 interceptors. Depending on the missile type and other assumptions for comparison, there is already about 12,000 active satellites in orbit around Earth, and most of them are fucking Elon.
So this is basically a combination of two things, right? The surface to air idea is basically the Iron Dome from Israel, which is their surface to air counter missile system, which, to be fair, is pretty effective at shooting down missiles coming in from places like Gaza. But it's also combined with Ronald Reagan's scrapped Star Wars idea, which is, what he fucking called it, because of course he did, which was to have satellites in orbit that would be able to shoot down missiles. Why did Star Wars fail? Well, first, because neither Disney nor George Lucas know how to make follow-ups to the original trilogy, but more importantly, for this exact reason.
And I understand that also part of the function of Star Wars was to bankrupt the Soviet Union. When Reagan people were deploying it, they knew they would never work. But they put forward that it was, and put forward fake tests to force the Soviet Union to try to reproduce it and further bankrupt itself. It was an economic attack on the Soviet Union.
Right, but one of the reasons it was ineffective as a weapons platform is this fundamental problem. In order to meaningfully respond to airborne threats, you have to be relatively in a relatively low orbit if you're going to do it from orbit. Because otherwise, the travel time for whatever you want to deploy is probably going to be too long for you to effectively intercept whatever it is you're trying to intercept. Or, if you're just going to use lasers, well, lasers have spread and attenuation. It's not going to be effective from, say, geostationary orbit, which is much, much, much higher. So, the only way to get effective coverage is to basically blanket all the middle latitudes of the Earth with a network of satellites, all in separate orbits, all slightly offset from each other, and unless you have it very, very tightly controlled, there will be gaps in coverage, and also the majority of your satellites will spend the majority of their time covering things that are not of interest to you. And on top of that, those are orbits that are low enough that they have a relatively high rate of decay, which means you're going to have to constantly make adjustments and keep boosting these satellites. And every time that there's any kind of interruption, like, oh, they're getting a little low, that's going to change their orbit time. It's going to disrupt the nice, neat pattern that you have. And on top of that, one of the reasons that there's so many Starlink satellites is because they keep coming down, because they're going to run out of fuel.
Yep.
Because you need fuel to keep them in those orbits.
They're
because
low
they're not
Earth.
orbits.
Yeah.
Right.
On top of that.
So all of this combined is like, you're not going to get an effective surface-to-surface missile defense with orbital platforms. You're just not going to do it.
I just want to be clear
Do Starlink
about this.
satellites even have fuel, or are they simply up there until solar winds?
I think they're up there until they deorbit. I think they have a little bit of fuel, and it might actually be for deorbit purposes, so that they can. No, I think they orient.
Okay.
They orient primarily with gyros, if I remember correctly. I think if they have fuel, it's specifically so they can choose where they deorbit. Because if you just have your satellites falling out anywhere, that is a huge liability problem.
But that's what Space Current does. I mean, that's SpaceX incompetence, is just to let things fall where they may.
So
come to India. India will launch them at lower price and no problems.
So
yes, and by the way, they're aiming towards India. They just hit the ocean instead. That's another.
So one thing I want to point out about this specifically is that you would need 1,000 interceptors for North Korean ICBMs. This Golden Dome is supposed to protect America from China and Russia. And this is from one North Korean ICBM. If they were to launch more than one, they would need 30,000 interceptors to be reliable. And that is, again, only North Korea. If you were going to do Russia and China, who have hundreds of ICBMs, like, why? Who's to say this is even going to work?
Well, to be fair, even the advocates aren't saying it's going to be 100% effective.
But I'm not talking about 100% effective. I'm talking about effective at all. The price tag on top of it, which Landon brought up, is bound to be a thorny issue. Already over the past 70 years, the United States has spent more than $400 billion on missile defense, according to the APS report, and the budget bill that is currently working its way through Congress would lay out $25 billion for the Golden Dome in a fiscal year of 2025. And
that is $25 billion as a graph gift to some people to do some studies. Meanwhile, Agent Orange wants to charge Canada for the privilege of being under the Golden Shower Dome.
May 5th Congressional Budget Office report suggests that even with the lower launch costs, the space-based effort alone would cost between $161 billion and $542 billion over the course of 20 years. So this dome seems like nonsense. I'm not gonna lie. That's the way it seems to me, at the very least.
It's just a stunt. This is just indulging all those people who just blindly voted for Trump. This is an indulgence to those people, because those people, they like to go this, oh, Trump is gonna do something big and something really, really out of the ordinary, so they can grasp onto this. And then, like the Space Force, right? The Space Force thing came out. How long did it last?
We're definitely doing something, guys.
Well, there still is a Space Force, sadly. But Maanyaa, part of the thing is that there are people that contributed to Trump's ego. They are being rewarded with contracts to do Golden Shower Dome explorations. It doesn't matter if it works. It's the fact that Agent Orange is giving payback. And guess what? SpaceX is there in line to say we can start managing and launching some of these things as an excuse to further allow Space Karen to rip off the U.S. taxpayer.
So
I have an idea.
Yeah.
Trump, you can pay me $20 billion and I will create a portal gun that will teleport the incoming ICBMs back at the launch site.
Ooh.
There you go.
Now you're thinking with portals.
You pay Dapper, and Dapper could use his computer to give you really cool graphics.
That's what he's
that would be what most of the $20 billion would go towards. Here's how you know. Look, here's how you know something like new tech thing that you might want to invest in is probably a scam. This is a probably. If what they have to show off is a bunch of fancy CGI, and what they don't have to show off is a working prototype, chances are that's a scam. Because here's the thing. I can make a fancy CGI animation of fucking anything I want. It doesn't matter if it's real. It doesn't matter if it's possible. I am currently making a CGI map of an orc outpost for Maddie for one of her games. You know how many orcs I've met in real life? Not a fucking one. Doesn't matter. I can still put them in my computer.
At Dapper's notion, Dapper's going to talk about the fact that if you don't have anything, use graphics. That's actually quite a thing, because I've been participating in a particular government program where they explicitly said no graphics because it's serious. They want people to take it seriously. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, no, they're right. It's funny because it's true.
Wisdom that what Dapper just said. Pay attention. Sometimes
All right.
a dinosaur has
Interface also takes up a lot of processing power, so yeah, like...
India explores partners beyond the United States to build fighter jet engines, report. So, hey, remember when I said that the industrial military complex of America is absolutely fucking cooked? Yeah.
Oh, no.
India is actively...
good things that comes out of this.
India is actively engaging with defense manufacturers from the United Kingdom, France, and Japan to co-develop fighter jet engines, aiming to bolster its defense capabilities amid escalating regional tensions. This move, seeking to diversify partnership beyond the United States and address critical capability gaps, comes weeks after Pakistan shot down at least 5 Iranian Air Force IAF jets in an aerial combat that involved more than 100 aircraft from both sides and lasted for hours. The incident has prompted global militaries to study the confrontation, highlighting the evolving nature of aerial combat in the region. India's Defense Research and Development Organization, DRDO, will evaluate proposals from the 3 countries with an emphasis on technology transfer and intellectual property sharing. Quite frankly, the intellectual property sharing is really, really smart, but this is exactly, remember when I said Canada was joining in? Canada will likely be part of this.
Nice.
Seems reasonable.
Nice.
Look, here's the thing. Oh, sorry.
You're bringing India to the table now by attacking whatever Russia has, so here you go.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So I will say that the military-industrial complex of the United States has been one of the biggest drivers of the slaughter of innocent people worldwide that has ever existed, right? It's not quite as bad as, say, like Maoist China or the Soviet Union under Stalin or Pol Pot. Well, in terms of raw numbers, it's worse than Pol Pot. In terms of proportionality, no, it's not as bad as Pol Pot. Yeah. So, while I do think that, generally speaking, the Trump regime will be remembered as one of the one of the more it would be a joke if it weren't going to kill so many people. But generally remembered as one of the worst things to happen in American history, short maybe of the Civil War. I will say, if it manages to take down the military-industrial complex, that is not something I will ever complain about. If Trump's incompetence manages to actually long-term ruin the ability of the military-industrial complex of the United States to foment wars so that they can sell more weapons, that will be a good thing for world peace.
This is something that I've noticed has been going on with America in particular, is that Donald Trump in particular, is fucking up everything so fucking badly that he's accidentally causing, by proxy, all of the good things. So people are diversifying. People, the dollar is probably not going to be it's probably going to collapse. Realistically, the dollar is probably toasted. It's going to be really bad for the people in America, but that's going to be up to the people in America to decide how bad it gets and what ends up happening. But it's probably not going to be. What's likely going to happen, this is what I suspect when it comes to international currency, is you're probably going to see something along the lines of nobody's going to want to agree to anybody's particular currency as a global currency anymore. And what's probably going to happen is that during any trade negotiations, what currency is used is going to be part of, for which products and which industry, is likely going to just be part of that negotiation. That's what I expect is going to happen.
I'm not going to cry for the fall of American hegemony. It has not gone well for basically anyone who is an American, and even for the Americans, it often hasn't gone well because it's also involved a lot of fucking dead soldiers. It was Memorial Day in the U.S. not that long ago. If you want to honor the dead soldiers of America, here's my number one suggestion for you as a veteran. Don't fucking make more of them.
Yeah. Fair and reasonable. So, next up, just because I'm trying to get through some of this a little bit, we have Bangladesh Navy eyes South Korea improved Jang Bogo-Class Marines, but I don't think that's pronounced Jang. I think it's Jang, but what do I know? So, like I said, we have other countries militarizing away from the United States. So Bangladesh is negotiating with South Korea to produce 6 improved submarines under a $200 billion program. The submarines will be stationed at BNS Papua, a new $1.29 billion underwater base. Bangladesh Navy will employ South Korea-developed weapons, including the Boksong the White Shark, supposedly, heavyweight torpedo. This acquisition will significantly enhance deterrence against India and Myanmar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. In the Bay. And Bangladesh has the option to locally assemble key components and torpedoes under a joint venture. Indonesia's successful acquisition and operation of similar submarines validate the platform's reliability, and the project supports Bangladesh's blue economy and EEZ protection policy with strategic synergies alongside the Korean naval platforms under consideration. So, again, these are a little bit long, so if you want to read through these fully, again, all of them are linked in the description down below, as well as in the on the posts tab. You can go and find them there as well if you follow Debate Hub on Blue Sky. I have linked all of everything we've talked about, so you can go and take a look at it further. But again, we're seeing all these like hundreds of billions of dollars that would have been allocated to the United States evaporating and just going to other places. Yep. Yeah. Last one, we also have an EU Commission in a hurry on supercomputing quantum strategy. So, European Commission is planning to present a strategy on quantum earlier than expected on July 2nd this year in a bid to boost uptake of technology considered capable of leading to breakthroughs in medicine and finance. The Commission began consulting on a plan early last month and originally intended to launch the strategy in the third quarter of this year. So it's a little bit earlier. The proposal will aim to reinforce Europe's tech sovereignty Europe's tech sovereignty and economic security in quantum technologies, including computing and communication. It is expected to call for member state cooperation to fully implement the European Declaration on Quantum Technologies, which was signed last spring. Landon, take us away. This is such a you topic.
Quantum computing is a very important area of research. Quantum computing capability is pathetic. For example, quantum computers' record factorization. These things are supposed to break all cryptography and make the world a better place. Best thing they can do now is to factor a number that I can do in my own head. Take a little time, but that's how advanced the quantum computing is now. Not to say that it's a bad area. It's a useless area. It's a very interesting area of research, and we should put a lot of effort into it. The problem is that entities like Google or D-Wave come out with these press releases to try to claim quantum supremacy. Guess what? They've claimed it several times. Even Microsoft has tried to do this, or IBM. And guess what? Quantum computers still remain supreme. And not only supreme, but supreme by many orders of magnitude. This is to say we shouldn't do research in quantum computing, because I think it's an interesting area and we should do things like that. But the notion that quantum computing is going to do anything other than amuse us right now is... And by the way, one of the things that you should be concerned about is people pushing so-called post-quantum cryptography. Right? This notion we've got to change cryptography because quantum computing is coming down and it's going to break open and destroy all of the security behind computing. No. The thing you should fear on is not breaking the math, like quantum computing somehow can destroy the ability of cryptography to operate. You should worry about rubber hose cryptography. What's rubber hose cryptography? It's where you take a rubber hose and you beat the hell out of somebody until they give you the key.
Right.
By the way, that's a real technical term. I didn't make that up. and it's usually people that are the weak link in cryptography. Rarely is it the mathematics.
Right.
That being said, I support and have supported funding of quantum computing. It's a very interesting set. I believe that commercial fusion and DeLorean, cars and other things will come first before quantum computing can do better than what I can do in my brain.
It sounds to me like you're saying you support the funding of this, but be cautious for anybody selling you anything. Especially
right now, and it is, and be wary of people saying we have to change cryptography to have post-quantum computing, because what they're going to drag you into is a set of cryptography that's not well tested. Do not accept anyone that says I got a new magic crypto that's going to be the best thing, because understand the best that quantum computing can do, Grover's algorithm, just shortens the thing by the square root. So a 256-bit key becomes 128-bit strength if quantum computing is able to do it effectively. That's the best that quantum computing can do. And so the danger is they are con people into changing cryptography.
Yep.
Remember, the IETF, I'm going to piss a lot of people, IETF has a long history of cryptographic incompetence. IETF has put forward and a standardized system that proved to be incompetent. Don't trust this post-quantum computing. Don't trust their, on the other hand, fund the research because it's important and will eventually lead to some interesting applications.
So Landon, are you saying that quantum computing is to computing as fusion power is to electrical power generation?
I would say it's closer to cold fusion as envisioned by Ponce.
That's even worse. I mean, wow.
And the thing, if Google comes out and says yet another quantum supremacy, or
maybe just ignore Google,
you can probably bet
they pay my bills.
Elon Musk's prediction will be more reliable.